Hey guys, let me know if you guys can hear me and see me okay. Let's move that a little bit. Just gonna wait for somebody to say, yeah, we can see you. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, you're doing good. Okay, you guys are saying yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. You guys are saying yeah. All right. So what's up, everybody? Hello, hello, hello. So today we're doing something a little bit different today. So just bear with me. Today we're going to be listening to a interview that the PI did. His name is Steve, better known as SF Investigates on Twitter. He's the guy that share the drone footage that I feel like if you're a creator, we all were looking at that drone footage. And it's also the footage where people were people were saying, is that her car that they noticed in the drone footage? He also has drone footage of different lakes around there. And he has some video of the actual party site. We've looked at that and discussed it. So he actually did a interview yesterday that we're going to be listening to. Give me 1 second really quick. Hold on, guys. Hey, Sarah. She says I'm new here. So I don't want to not like ignore you guys. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, sorry. My ears are getting plugged again. Don't know why they do that. So anyways, he's also the guy that had interaction with Kiely's family, which is the dad and grandpa. And he helped search. He was out there searching for Kiely. He also, when Ventures with Purpose came, he is the one who actually was there with grandpa and dad and told grandpa and dad that they had found Kiely's car. So he did this interview yesterday on Twitter, and I will link the girl's account that this comes from in the description box after this. So he does this interview, and I think it's a really good interview. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to play it from my phone because I don't want to deal with any of the lagging issues that we have here. And then I'm going to try my hardest not to interrupt this interview because the interview, you guys, is 2 hours long. 2 hours long. So I kind of want to just let people listen to it. And then later on today, I'm going to go back because this will be the third time that I've listened to it. And I'm going to go back after today and I'm going to cut what I think is really important information. He talks about the sand, also the location where her car would have went through. He also talks about how grandpa says that, Kiely knew that area. She knew the roads really good. And there's just some really good information he gives us. So I kind of want to just let everybody listen today, and then I will cut up what I want to talk to you guys about, and we'll have a different live stream where I will give you guys more of my thoughts and opinions. Does that make sense to everybody? Tell me it does. My ears are freaking plugged already. Let me know if that makes sense to you guys. My dryer's done. Does that make sense? How many of you ladies have one of these? drop a thumbs up if you have one of those. My hair is getting on my nerves. Stay. Okay. You guys, Malmac says yes. Okay, so hello to all of you guys in chat. Today I'm going to be kind of invisible. I'm going to ask my mods, since I'm going to be playing it from my phone, I'm not going to have much access to jump in the chat. So you guys be kind to my mods. If you guys have questions, they can answer it and do all of that stuff. If I need to stop the audio for whatever reasons, I'll stop it. For the most part, I'm not, just so you guys know. So I'm kind of going to be invisible today, which is going to be really hard for me to do because I'm on camera. So yeah. How many guys have one? Do you guys have one of these clips? Let me know. Okay, so also, you guys, I pinned it in the comment section. If during this live stream people start coming in and they're like, who is Steve? Who's this guy? Just refer to them to look at the pinned comment. But I feel like, you know, because sometimes people go in chats and they don't look at the pinned comment. So just refer to them to that. Also, mods, just answer any questions that people end up having. So, all right, smash this like. Yeah, this is going to be a good live stream if you're cooking, if you're doing cardio, if you're cleaning, if you're working, you want something to listen to. It's a good live stream for you guys to listen to. So, oh, hi, Money Moves. Well, first timer here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Grateful. Ed says, I do not. Grateful. Does your woman have one or your children? Really? Them says, my hair won't stay up in clips. Not even this one. This one is though, like, I feel like us, all Mexican girls have one of these. I feel like we have like, I have like a whole basket. This shit, I have, is your hair thin then? I'm thinking it's thin. Yeah, fine hair. Yeah. Oh, well, maybe not then. I don't know. This one gets the good strands, I feel like. All right, you guys. So let me put my hair back up and then we will get started. If you haven't hit like, please do that. Hook a girl up, please. All right. How many of you guys have listened to this already? Put a 1 in chat if you've listened to this interview. It was done yesterday on Twitter, or a 2 if you haven't. I've seen one before. Grateful Ed. Donna says, I got one of those. Oh, you have one of those in now? Oh, and Femme Fatale, I thought you were already a member, girlfriend. Or you're just adding it back. So I see some 2s, some 2s. Okay. I agree. Okay, you were on the Twitter live. Donna said, yeah, I watched it last night. I actually fell asleep to it. And then I woke up in the morning, started watching it first thing. And then my Delana sent it to me. It was like, you need to listen to this. I was like, girl, we're already on it. I'm listening to it. I sent it to Scott. So Scott and Delana have watched this. So those are the 2 that would be in the chat that you guys have questions. They could probably answer it. Oh, girl, you don't want to know how many times I lose my stuff. Yeah, it will do that. If you don't renew it, it will do that. All right, you guys. So you guys ready? All right. I will try to put something else on the screen so you guys aren't just looking at my crazy mug. Let me know in the chat. I don't like it like that. All right. Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear it okay, if it's too loud or if it needs to be louder. It's at the loudest, but we'll try to move the mic over a little. Okay.
So what's the form, like how, I know we wanted to kind of do a Q&A, maybe clear some things up or questions that people might have, clarify things, but how do we, is there a way of doing that? I'm not real familiar with spaces.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about what happened when you went there and just kind of talk all that out, or if you want people to come up and ask questions first, that's up to you.
Well, let me just give kind of a breakdown of what happened, because I see some of these.
I'm already stopping it. Just so you know what it's going to start with for the people that haven't listened to this. So in the beginning, it's going to go into, he's going to explain how he even met Kiely's dad and grandpa. So he goes into that. Then he's going to go into the moment he hears that her car had been found, and then how he has to explain that he is the one who has to break that to dad and grandpa. And then after that, they open, I guess on Twitter, you could open like the link thing up and people could call in and ask questions. I don't know. I'm just guessing that's how it works. Then it gets into the questions. The questions is when it gets really interesting. So just so you guys know. Hey, Liz. Nope, you're right on time, girl.
Questions, concerns, whatever you want to call them, about the notification process. that happened, and I don't think that today's presser really clarified much about that. I can only talk about my sequence of events. I can't speak for any other individual, any organization, or anything. But what happened on Sunday? Well, let me back up. When I got there a week ago, there was at the recreation center, they had a trailer set up. That was like a command center for volunteers, I would call it. And it was manned by volunteers. So they had maps and QR codes to tracking apps, the actual physical maps taped to the side of the trailer, but they would show where areas that may be closed because they're being searched by law enforcement, or special notices and they had cases of water where everybody checked in and you grabbed water, you grabbed whatever you needed. And the first day I got there kind of midday, and I happened to be, so it's kind of on a four-way intersection, and right across the street from it is the California Highway Patrol building, which is a large facility. And then like one block down was the hotel where I was staying at. And so I checked in the hotel, and then I noticed, when I was heading to Prosser for the first time, the command center was pretty, it was a big setup. And I stopped in there, and there was a male and a female, and I had no idea who they were. And I started just asking some questions about the area itself and about the terrain. And then I just asked some questions about where the search, stood. And then I was curious if Kiely if Kiely knew that area very well, if she'd driven in Prosser a lot, or could she get lost? And the male said, well, she's been driving less than a year, so she could, and I kind of, forgot, they're talking about a 16-year-old, and we started talking about it, and then it came out.
So less than a year she was driving.
I had no idea, Daniel. And so I introduced myself, and I told him that, I was there to volunteer, and that anything I could do for them, just call on me. And we exchanged numbers, went on my way and searched. The next morning, like 6 in the morning, I left the hotel to start searching again, and I went by the command trailer again to just see if there was a map update and whatnot. And I figured it would be closed, and there was nobody out in front of it or anything. There was a couple of handwritten things on the map I noticed had changed, and one of them was kind of curious because it said that the last sighting was 1 a.m. and before it was 12:30. So I was sitting out there a while, and I was looking around on I got on my phone to see if there had been a change in the timeline or anything. I couldn't find anything, and then the trailer door opened, and the dog came out, and then this other gentleman came out, and I was like, oh, hey, sorry, I didn't know anybody was in the trailer. And he asked if I was, there to search, and I told him, yeah, and we walked.
Hold on, because I see your comment. Yes, so SF Investigates is his name on Twitter. His name is Steve, the PI. He's a private investigator. He was there with the family.
Up to the side of the
dad and grandpa.
He introduced himself as Kiely's grandfather, and we spoke for probably a good 90 minutes. And so that's kind of how I originally met them. Then, so during that initial discussion,
hey Johnny,
I'd originally told him, I said, I noticed that for those that don't know, the family has a lodge, I guess you would call it, and it's on a street called Coldstream, which is about a 4 mile. You go through a gate. It's a locked gate, and then you got a 4 mile dirt road. It's truly like off the grid, and it goes deep. And on the way back there, on maps, I've never been there, but I noticed that there was 3 individual ponds. And at the beginning, I'd asked him, has anybody searched Coldstream? And he didn't. He said that yes, it had been searched. I think he said by a friend of his, and also law enforcement had been out there. But at the end of the conversation, he said, "You're welcome anytime. You want to come to Coldstream and do it." And he gave me the code to the gate into their house, and he said, "You don't just go, you don't need, you've got my permission. I'm the owner of it. It's where the family lives, including her mom and her, and Kiely lives there." And so
talking about the trail lodge.
That started so I went out there, I searched all day, and then I went out there to fly a drone late in the afternoon, and I drove out there.
That's what I'm doing.
At the very end.
Taking notes.
And flagged me down and asked me to have a glass of wine with him outside. And did that, and we talked, and I just started to learn about family, and, which was tough because I could see that they were going through a lot of pain. And so got to Sunday. That's doing some events with the notification, which was one of the worst moments of my life. I got an email. He had told me that Saturday they have a property in a different county that he was going to just for the day. So I got an email early. Let's see, so I can be exact. I got an email from him Sunday at 10:17 in the morning. This is on Sunday. That he wanted to meet at the Coldstream property at 6 p.m. So I said, okay. And then my plan was actually just to go, search again. I was going to do part at Prosser, and then I was going to, at that point, I was really just kind of winging it, finding back streets up around, in the mountain area. So I was kind of splitting my day up. Then at 12:55, I got an email from him saying,
he ends up breaking down too in his
12:55
audio chat.
He said, "I'm headed to Prosper, 1 p.m. This came in at 12:55.
Prosser.
Or Prosser, not Prosper. Prosser. So I was already, out in that area. And so it didn't say anything more than that. And so I was out there, and when I got out there, I noticed that who I assumed was Veterans with Purpose, because they had a large camper trailer rig and a setup, and I did see 2 small inflatable boats in the water. So I didn't go down on that, but I would call it's kind of like a peninsula. It's kind of like a diamond point sand beach, and I was up on the higher road, so that would be the road in between where the party location was and down at the beach where the car was found. And in between that is all these thorn bushes and stuff. And everybody's I want to say everybody, when law enforcement had their search and rescue teams up there, I know that they were looking. One of the things they were looking for was the phone, or possibly jewelry evidence and stuff like that. So I was out there, and then I would say about, I I'm guessing about 1:30ish, I ran across David, who that's her grandfather's name. And so, we started chatting, and he is, he's a really cool guy. He's super, super nice. He's a listener. He takes in everything. He's really, like, soft-spoken, but you can tell he's really smart and just, super nice guy. And he just asked me, like, tell me what you think, Steve. Like, tell me, be honest with me. He's like, I just want the truth, and he would ask about certain things, which, I'm not going to go over the individual things. So we were out there, maybe 20 minutes. I had run across him, and then a guy in a quad runner pulled up, and because he had he had a pistol and like a bulletproof jacket on. Feared it was law enforcement.
It's Kylie's dad.
Who I hadn't seen out there yet, but I thought maybe because Ventures of Purpose was out there, and I had a drone up a little bit earlier. They were coming to say something, but took his helmet off and ended up being Daniel, who is her father, and who's Kylie's father. So now, this is not, they're not father and son. This is Kylie's
so David
mom's
is
dad,
grandpa, and
then Kylie's
Daniel's
dad, birth dad.
Kylie's dad.
So they were father-in-law, son-in-law at one point. And so then I realized it's him. And so the three of us, we sat and talked for quite a while, and they're like, you can just tell that they're so confused. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, where's our daughter? Where's our granddaughter? And I don't have any answers for them. I'm just like, listen, that I do a lot of this, and I can never answer that. I don't know. Like, when you're asking where could she be, I'm asking the same question. I don't know. I just tell them, I'm like, I can tell you that I've personally worked cases where people that have been missing and they're found, and
it's heartbreaking.
but I told them, I said, it's serious that they're looking. They're law enforcement's very convinced that pain came from around the water area. And I said, that's serious, and they knew that. And throughout different questions over the whole week, David would tell me, he's like, I appreciate the information. I appreciate, the real talk. He said to me, he's like, this is the most information I've gotten out of anybody since this whole thing began. He said, they just have not gotten any information, and that was a big point of frustration. And so, so the three of us were sitting out there, and there was a discussion about a part of the actual party area
around the water
that we wanted to see. We decided we wanted to see if we could find the exact trees in the photos that have been released from the party. There was like those 3 photos. So I messaged people that I work with on the team through Discord, and said, can you please, because
correct, Sarah.
I don't want to be thumbing through them. I don't have Discord on my phone. I know what everybody probably does it that way. I can do it on my laptop, and I didn't want to set up my laptop hotspot out there and whatnot. So I said, I sent a message to DX. I said, can you grab the party photos from Discord and text them to me? And then that was like, so 2:11, and then so at that point it had been a little while to wait. I was having the message wasn't going through, so I ended up setting up my hotspot, and then I did log into my laptop, and then I asked in a 219. These are all time stamped. I called DX with Kiely's dad and grandfather on the speaker, and said, I told her why we need those pictures, and you could send them as soon as possible, just because they're antsy that they want to end. So she sends the pictures get sent to me, and we're talking. We're going over like a couple of these trees are distinctive, and we're trying to figure out the distance between them so we know what to look for, because we're going to go up the hill. And now we're on this like road that kind of goes all the way around the like the party end of the where the party was, that wraps around to that diamond little beach area there where the car was found. We're up on a fire road up above, and so you can see like a tiny portion is not cut off of like where Adventures with Purpose is working down there. And so at 2:48, I was standing there talking to them, and I got a call from DX, and I could just tell by the way she said hello that I instantly knew that Kiely had been found, and she was kind of dragging, didn't really want to say it, and I just said, just say it, just read it, just tell me. And she read the statement that had been found, and so I went back to them at that point, because I knew something was off, and I kind of walked a few feet off, and I could see Adventures with Purpose were setting up cones around the area, and then there's a lot of people out at Prosser, and there's a lot of people that were there to specifically watch Adventures with Purpose, and I could see people coming down the tree line, and so I knew that word was out, and I hung up and I told them, and it was I just had to tell a father and a grandfather that their 16-year-old daughter and granddaughter was gone, and she was in the water, and it was just really hard to do, and it shocked them, even though I think they knew, and it was about 200 yards to where they were at. We rushed over there. Adventures with Purpose. They didn't know who we were. His father was running down. They kind of came out to stop us, and I think they thought that it was from social media. And we told them who we were, and they were great. They were super comforting. There was no celebration or anything going on their end. That was very sad, and they showed me proof of the car and Kiely, and I told David and Daniel that it's the car, and there remains inside, and which they knew, and there's no I see these accusations of trying to, somehow I'm proud of being the one that told them. It's one of the worst moments of my life. And people making those accusations, I think, need to have they need to have a basis for doing it. I know I did the right thing. If I didn't, I would have had that knowledge, and somebody running down the hill would have been like, "Did you hear she's found?" As they're going to look and check it out. I can't sit on that information. It was put out there as a statement that the car was found and Kiely was found inside. I'm not going to call 911 and be like, I have some news to tell somebody. Can you come out to Prosser Dam Reserve? That's not the way life works. I don't care if people think that law enforcement should have notified them, that maybe law enforcement should have been out there when they knew that there was a sonar search going on. If that was the case, there was not one law enforcement presence in the entire park. So we Doug from Venture to Purpose, myself, David and Daniel, went down to the shoreline where Bowie was out there, where Kiely was at, and he told us how they found it, and he explained that he hopes this brings some closure to the family that obviously don't want this to be how things go, and then we had some talks about Kiely and how this could have happened, which I'll keep private, and then after about 25 minutes, law enforcement people started showing up, and they asked, they said that they wanted David and Daniel to go to the CHP building. Daniel, her father, agreed to go, but then David said, I'm not going to leave my granddaughter.
Oh,
not until I see that car. I'm not going to leave my granddaughter. And he said, please don't make me leave her. And they agreed. And then he said, please don't make him leave. I need him here. And to me, and I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to witness any of this, but I was more than willing to be there for him, and that's why I stayed. As soon as David, as soon as we saw the nose of the car coming out, he just wanted to see, the car. He didn't want to see her, and we left, and the rest of his family was across the lake on the shore. He went and met them, and I went and checked out my hotel. But there was about 4 or 5 hours period of time that we were there. And for all the people that are saying
I know, right, crazy mom? It's
I'm not
heartbreaking.
a private investigator. I'm not a real private investigator.
His grandfather could not leave until he's seen his granddaughter's car.
I don't build a penny in my life for private investigation work.
Heartbreaking.
I just want you, and the people that are calling law enforcement saying this, I want you to know that CHP, Prosser County Sheriff's Office, Nevada County Sheriff's Office, FBI, and the FBI CART team. Don't lose it. All right. Am I still on?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you're still. Yeah, you're here.
Oh, okay. My phone shut. So, yeah, CHP, Prosser County Sheriff, Nevada County Sheriff, FBI, and members of the FBI CART team were all there running separate investigations. Every single one of them took my name, my address, my date of birth, my credentials, and my badge for my PI. But none of them had an issue whatsoever. So the fact that people are trying to raise an issue about this is none of it's business. If I'm a PI, even if I charge, even though I don't charge, it's my business if I charge. I do everything by the book. I don't have to be licensed in every state. I can go and volunteer my time anywhere I want. I'm not acting as anybody's PI when I do that. Just the fact that I have a private investigation license doesn't mean I all of a sudden can undo having that if I go to a state where I'm not licensed or doesn't have reciprocity. So the people making these, listen, I'm not an idiot. Okay, I know how to play by the book. The fact that I want to help people. The reason I got my PI license originally years ago, and then I let it go for a while, and then I picked it back up in some states. The reason that I did that, or really, is for the same reason I do it now, because I want to help people, and I want to have access to information, and I want to have knowledge. I want the continuing education.
I read an article where they said she was found in the backseat.
Different, like LAPD, you can take, all their, courses as a civilian. I go to training all the time. I'm a, search and rescue pilot. I'm a commercial licensed pilot. I've been doing this a long time. I didn't just start this just because I met some of these people around the time that the Gabby Petito case was going on.
The back window looks down too.
20 years. So
it is down.
For those people, that's fine. If you want to go out, you want to bother law enforcement, stuff like that. I was there. There's plenty of pictures put in. I was there. Every single one of those agents, they would not let you. They were processing it as a potential crime scene. They were not going to let outsiders inside that tape. So they don't have a problem with it. So I don't know why anybody else is trying to have a problem with it. It's disrespectful to the family. It's noise that does not need to be out there.
Donna, I would think so now that I'm assuming it was in the car.
Quite frankly,
but they haven't said
a wreck over this. This is not easy stuff to do. And the last thing I'll say, again, I just wanted to reiterate, if you think that this was a contest, that I was trying to be the one to tell the family or tell the father and the grandfather, you were dead wrong. That was one of the worst moments, besides, losing my mom and my brother. That's probably the worst moment of my life. I never wanted to do that again. And if you think that I was there for that moment, that I got any glory in that, I didn't. And the final thing I'll say, the tweet that I put out announcing that was myself, Doug from Adventures with Purpose, David and Daniel talked about it. He said, there's a ton of, my phone was blowing up at that point. And I said, I think we should put something out. And we typed it up. And David, her grandfather, said, Steve, those are facts. I'm fine with facts. And I put it out with their permission. Because of all the trash talking that's going on online. This morning I was talking to her father online. I brought it up and I said, I know, I'm so sorry that there's people out there that are they're dragging your daughter's name into this because they have an issue with me. I said, they're trying to make it into an event that I was the one that notified you, and David, and he replied back,
I think people are.
You made the right call, Steve.
On social media, Sarah.
Decision. I agree with what you did. I really do appreciate it as well.
I don't know who he's talking about.
That's all I really have to say about that situation. And if anybody still has issues with, I'll answer your questions as long as they're public knowledge. They're not speculation on the investigation. If you have an issue still with me, take it up with me personally. Don't involve Kiely's name in it, okay? Just be like,
and I guess too on his Twitter, people write comments, you know
Twitter.
What I mean?
That's fine.
You know how it is when you're on social media.
Kiely and her family out of it, please.
People get crazy.
Stop calling law enforcement, trying to verify facts that they know about. Do you think that they not notice that I was there 5 hours inside the crime scene? They know exactly who I am.
I don't know about trying to call and see if he's actually a PI. People are just crazy.
Thank you so much, Steve.
They have such nice voices.
We have Sarah up here. Do you have any questions, Sarah? Sorry, I'm trying to get it together. I don't. I just want to thank Steve for his time and his everything. I mean, it's emotionally draining, obviously, for him.
Yep.
Being put in that situation is never easy, and I am so sorry for the people who are trying to drag you just because they do not like you. You know who you are. The majority of us know who you are. We know your heart, and I am glad to be able to call you a friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I just want to say to the moderators, you don't need to block or not let anybody up here because you think that they might have some negative to say. I don't care. I'll take questions from whoever. I have no ideas in the chat, and I'm looking at the phone. So,
yeah, that's fine. I'm going to invite people up for questions.
Okay.
I do mind.
I don't know
people
if
are.
People to,
Yeah. If everybody wants to request the mic, that's okay. We'll let you up for questions. Just don't be rude. Don't interrupt anybody. Steve says it's okay to be rude, but I don't say it's okay to be rude.
Well,
so
true, Delana, true.
Like, don't, because it might be somebody has an issue with
That's
me.
true.
I don't care, but
yeah,
let
I'm just not. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just not going to put up with any rudeness, and I'm not here for BS or any kind of stuff. So if everybody can just behave, that would be fantastic. I would hate to have to boot anybody, and I don't want to have to be mean. So please don't force me to be mean. Okay.
Girl, it's your thing, be mean.
Hi, Steve. I just wanted to say thank you so much for going out there.
Okay, her accent.
And being there for the family
really?
and doing
Beautiful.
what you do. We all really appreciate it. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Sucker for a good accent. I love it.
And Steve, I know that was one of the hardest things you've ever had to do. I just want to say that, I mean, it was meant to be for you to be out there with them, as ridiculous and horrible as that was. I think them hearing that news from you instead of them finding out on social media, I'm glad that DX called you when she did, because I fear that things would have gone a lot worse if you hadn't been there. So bless you for being there for them. Bless you for caring enough, and everything that you do out of the goodness of your heart is much appreciated.
Thank you. And one of the reasons that worked out too is that as soon as law enforcement did get there,
yes,
they
Delana.
crime scened it off, and they didn't. That's why other members of her family, including her mom, could not come down. That's where Kiely was at. We remained inside there, but if I had not told them,
Lauren, it was someone on
they would
Twitter.
have seen, obviously, the social media post, but I don't think
This
they
is
would have
a Twitter
probably had
interview.
Opportunity to talk to Doug right away. And Doug was
I will link it in the description box when I'm done. I believe her name was Rose.
Compassionate, and they, and people can say, I'll let them speak for themselves, but I can tell you from the conversation that David and Daniel were incredibly grateful to Adventures with Purpose for finding her. Even though that they didn't want that news, they got that closure, and they probably wouldn't have, because if the car hadn't been found by then, the search was scaling back. I don't know when it would have been found.
Rose.
And before questions start, can we please use the hand raise, because we just got a lot of speaker requests.
I wish
really
I would have knew
quickly,
this
and
was
I just
going
don't
on
want
last
anybody
night.
to be
It totally
talking
would have been
over
on there.
anybody. So go ahead, Catherine.
Hey, Steve, I just wanted to say, I know I've not always been your greatest cheerleader, but after working on this case with you, I have to say I highly respect you, and I'm glad that I had the chance to work with you. Not that I really like the outcome, but yeah, tonight has just broken me. Today's broken me, but you're an amazing human. You're an amazing human. That's all I have to say.
Well, that was nice of her.
Appreciate it.
I do want to say something for the record before I forget that. I just want to say that, Steve did not want to be out there when they found the car. All I can say is that I can verify, and the rest of us can. That was the last thing that he wanted. It wasn't like he just went out of his way to be out there and tell the family, and yet he stood there and watched it happen anyway, just to be there for them. So I do want to add that in for clarification.
Yeah, again, her grandfather sent the email saying 1 p.m. I don't even have a phone number.
They do talk about a little bit about that.
He used my phone.
ATS later on in the questions, I believe.
And I don't know if that's Kiely's grandmother or if this is the second marriage or whatever, because he was using her first name, and I didn't want to ask that, but he called her from my phone, told her, and then she called back one time on my phone and asked for him. So he's not like connected, you know. For somebody who's saying online that it's the moms that choose to live that way, so they all live on this property. It's owned by, David, and he lives in a different part of it, but on the property. And they did have, when I was out of the property that time having the wine, he wanted some answers to a few things, and I told him I needed internet, and they did actually have a hotspot set up that was called Find Kiely Rodni. So, they did temporarily have internet there, but he doesn't carry like a smartphone. At one point, I'm pretty sure I saw him in his truck with a flip phone. So he's certainly not a social media guy. Daniel, her father, did have a phone, so again, I was in a situation where it was confirmed, and people were closing in on the site, and I knew I couldn't, so it's supposed to go up and start searching, for these trees.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And knowing that, when they could just go down and where their
You're
person
welcome,
they're looking
Red.
for is at, so.
Yeah. I think Leslie is next. She didn't raise her hand, but
Leslie, raise your hand.
I'm
Come on,
sorry,
girl.
Steve. Thank you. This had to be so incredibly painful and difficult. To have your integrity questioned is awful, and I know that we're all grateful for everything that you've done and that you're speaking with us tonight. My question, because you're there and have been around so many people and you've seen the lay of the scene, what's your gut say? What have you heard? Is this just an awful accident, or is it something else? What does your gut say?
So, I'll just kind of tell you, like, what I've observed. I don't know if I want to get into gut feelings, but it would be a colossal mess up for her to leave the way she did. One thing that I think is very deceiving too, by looking at it on Google Earth or Google Maps or whatever, those dirt roads have like huge potholes and like these ravines where like I was in SUV and like I would have to put it in sand mode to get through some of these ravines. So you're not going more than 5 miles an hour at any time, or you're just gonna crash the car into a ravine on the road. That those are not like, so coming into the park initially, you're on asphalt.
This is really important information right here.
Where the car was, you split her off onto this dirt road that has a big no cars sign at it, but if you look at it, it actually says under it in small print, cars not recommended. So they're trying to get people not to go out there, but you can go out there. So that's a road that you split off and you go down. And then as you're going down that, when you're about 3/4 of the way to where the water would be, you would take another right onto a different, smaller road that goes up through the trees, and that's back where the party was. If you continued going straight on that, then you kind of make this like hitch, go left and then right. And if, let's say, you're drunk, and I'm not saying that she wasn't, by the way, like if you kept going straight, you would hit these bushes that would immediately stop the car. And then to get
Interesting.
down onto that point, that peninsula, then you have to take another a left and go down this really, it's not really steep, but it's a short, steep thing, and then it goes flat for, I don't know, 100 yards or so, so it hits the water line. I mean, flat, but tiny, like, decline. However,
Because it's a little.
I'm not saying this is what happened, but that is the point, the exact point that points to the very middle of the lake. So it would be a weird sequence of events to get there. And one thing that her grandfather told me, so Cold Creek or whatever, that road, that 4-mile road, is an unkept dirt road. In fact, he said in the winter, like, she would stay at somebody else's house a lot of times for long periods of time during the winter because that road gets snowed in. It doesn't get plowed. So, like, they're back there for, they're back there. But it's a really brutal road, to be honest with you. It's just like, pothole after pothole. He said that, even though he said she's been driving that road, it's kind of a private road, for a long time, obviously before she was 16. There's also, like, these train tunnels at the back of the property that have water, like, quarter of the way up, you can drive through. He said that so she's experienced, she snowmobiles, so she's experienced with these off trail roads, so listen, I don't think anybody is saying that there wasn't drinking going on. I don't think you're gonna find anybody saying that.
I think that's really
However,
interesting information.
I don't think this is a secret. I don't think it's anything to give away because you can see it from the helicopter shot. If you notice, there's a solid black truck and trailer, and that was the FBI crime lab. They brought it from either San Fran or Sacramento. It took several hours to get there. There was 3 different investigations going on. There was CHP, FBI, and Prosser County. They were all doing separate investigations. I'm sorry, Nevada County, not Prosser. Prosser closed their investigation because they only had a missing person investigation open. So they're technically, this is Nevada County is the lead on it now, because that land is Nevada County, in California, Nevada County, California. So there's 3 separate things going on. I don't, I think there was a reason for them to process it as a potential crime scene. I think that they wanted to make sure, so I'm not going to speculate. I know that people have been talking about the car when it came out of the water and stuff. There's a few things that do stand out. There's a couple that I think happened. They told us that they made the decision to roll the car in the water when it's still in the water, put it on its tires instead of dragging it on the roof because of where she was and damaging evidence. So I think when they rolled the car, they were doing it with the chain, attached to the tow truck. I think, you get a little damage when they roll it underwater. So I think there's a little, I don't want to say which part, but there's part of the damage that I think was due to, because I did see pictures and video from an underwater, but there's there's questions that need to be answered, and they have, one thing I told them was, like, do some research on, like, you got the best, you got the FBI and their car team, like, you got the best of the best out there, processing the car, and they were meticulous. They told us, this is, if you're waiting to see the car, this can be a very, very, very slow process. We are not going to screw anything up. So they sent divers in and filmed everything before they even touched the car one time. It was very methodical. They did a very good job, with that. And that went, I left, I told him, we've seen the front of the car. I don't want to see any more. And, especially since I'd seen photos. And so we left. But, I saw on the news, like, they were there till probably well after midnight, so they did a hell of a job. And, it was a Sunday. There was a lot of FBI agents and everything out there. So people really were giving Kiely their best.
Go ahead, Lori.
Yes, I had two questions, but the first one was just answered. So the second question I have was, when they showed the raw footage of them pulling the car
Thanks,
out,
Deb.
there was a rectangular area that was like roped off, or crime scene tape roped off somehow, or do you know what that rectangle was securing?
So that was part of CHP's investigation. So, like I said, there was 3 separate ones going on
CHP.
at the same time. So I think some were focused on different things and theories and whatnot. And I don't want to say too much about that. I can tell you there wasn't something inside of. In other words, there wasn't a physical piece of anything that was in there. I think that was more an area where they think something could be like a
No, she's still in the car.
point. Because what you don't see in that picture is there's other things leading up to that square box. So I think that was more like a marker, because they were then they were photographing it and putting like measuring sticks and stuff, like you could see that, because there's that drop off at the very end that goes into the water, and I think they were trying to get height, I don't know exactly what they're doing, I want to guess, but I can see they were holding measuring sticks and whatnot, and I think CHP has some really high tech, like angles of attack type of thing, when cars, do things or roll or whatever, so I think that was more of a area of significance. It was not a piece of like evidence that was found.
Okay, thank you.
She asked a good question.
Leslie, did you have a follow-up question?
Oh, okay. You know me, I can always talk. Yes, because of, like you were talking about the difficulty in driving and stuff like that, as far out as the car was, do you think that car was traveling at a fairly high speed for it to be that 55 feet from shore? I was curious about that. And if anybody had said the bottom of it, was it a sloped bottom, something that drops off? Something that explained, I was surprised that the vehicle was that far out.
That's a good question.
Think they were too.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I kind of was too, because when you get to that, so I had walked.
Listen to this part.
I had a pretty good idea. So I was staying at the same hotel as all the law enforcement agencies, outside agencies were staying at. I had a pretty good idea where the cell phone ping came from. It wasn't official, but so if you notice, I don't know, for those that looked at the drone footage, I shot a lot of footage in that finger of water, like just if you're looking at it from the shore where the buoy was for the car, just to the left of that, there's like this finger of water in it, and I shot a lot of footage over that. And so I can tell you, I've walked that shoreline a lot, and I mean, you just hit points where you go basically to your knees, you sink. It's really like muddy and gooey, and so I was surprised that the car was that far out. And what I was really surprised at, the first time I heard it, is when they said today during the press conference that the lake had dropped since the 5th, like he said between 1 and 3 feet, but that, maybe I heard it wrong, but then he said that 1 or 3 feet of water drop could mean 15 or 20 feet of shoreline. So if that's the case, that means the car went even further, and it also means that the area they marked off is kind of meaningless, I think. But so I don't know that kind of, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know what if that was said properly when he said it dropped 1 to 3 feet, but then it was like that equals 15 to 20 feet of shoreline. You can tell
It's called trigonometry, buddy.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I failed that.
All right.
Thanks.
I failed that for sure.
Thanks, smart guy.
But yeah, so anyway, so if that's the truth, then there was an extra 15 or 20 feet of water. Then it went even further, and also areas that they were exploring. I don't see how they were of significance because they would be 15 feet, But I don't, again, I don't know. They were not. I can tell you that they were not giving us details about specifics of their investigation or what their theories were or anything like that. I have no inside information on that. I have some inside information because I've seen the vehicle before it was pulled out and went up, but I'm not going to give that out, obviously, but they didn't share anything. They had liaisons that were coming and checking on David because by this point Daniel had left on CHB and he wasn't allowed back in. So, besides that, they would come over. A head from each agency came over and introduced themselves, and they would take me aside to get all my information, my credentials, and then because I wasn't family.
Kimberly, he talks about that in this interview.
They won't give us any, they didn't speculate. Listen, David had all those questions. Like, what happened? Did somebody do this? Did she accidentally do this? And they would just say, we can't. One of the guys said, we can't connect the dots until we collect the dots. That was exactly what he said.
True.
That makes sense to me.
I think you're absolutely right about connecting the dots. It's kind of like the time when you accused me of being a rapist.
You are gone. Bye, Tyler.
Okay.
What happened
Sorry
there?
about that. I kind of knew it was going to happen, but Steve told me no.
It's fine. I don't care. I mean, that just kind of shows who's who.
Exactly.
I
We do have some questions also for people that did not want to come up and speak. Let me just break that up for a minute. Somebody said that someone on Facebook posted screenshots of your drone footage saying they see the car. Is that actually where the car was?
Okay, so I don't know which one they're talking about because I just recently, or just in the last couple of hours, saw another post, but it's from the 20th that I had not seen before. But it was from Coldstream.
No.
And I was shocked. It obviously it wouldn't have anything to do with Kylie's case, but
no.
It looks like a car for sure. I know there was some people talking about the one right on that point.
Yeah.
And it's kind of convincing. I've seen people present it to me in different ways. It's about 30 feet probably from the actual location of the car, but there is a current. So the winds come through at about 30 miles an hour at night. So there is I don't know what the bottom's like. I think it's really that volcanic ash.
Remember we looked at that?
Because, like I said, I would sink so much, but I don't know if the car would move, or I don't know if the whole bottom kind of moves around with it, and that could have been the car, and it drifted more towards the center of the lake. I don't know. You start seeing things. I can't say. I know that people said that there were tips called into the tip line with the footage, and they also aren't saying they say that they follow up on everything, but they don't disclose if they think it's anything or not. So I don't know if that helped them get to that point out there or not. I have no idea. But I do appreciate everybody taking time to scrub through that footage because I just was so tired at night and had getting ready for the next day. I didn't have time to scan through it, and so much better having a couple hundred people scanning it, and that's just not something I'm good at anyways because my ADD, I'll miss everything. So thank you for everybody that took the time to do that. I mean, those are the things that people do in these communities that are absolutely just as helpful as anybody being there. That's just as helpful as me walking around bushes looking for something. I mean, that very well might have alerted the people if somebody were to look. obviously this isn't, they didn't tell me, but so people that did that, volunteer their time just as much as anybody else in this case. That is searching. It truly is just aerial footage. So thank you to everybody that did that.
So, Steve, I was the one that asked that question. The reason I was asking was, they were circling it in your drone footage, and it does look like a car, but
it does. But
what Adventures with Purpose said that it was flipped upside down, but in the drone footage it looked white, and you couldn't really see, like, I guess the land.
She's right.
As to where it was. But aside from that, I want to say that I really, really think you are amazing, and you just broke me tonight with your story. And you being there with the family is just, oh my God, it's just, beyond words. And I don't know why you catch so much flack. I really don't. But I think you are wonderful. But anyways, so aside from that, the only reason I was asking about the other is because the woman who was circling it it's almost like she's saying that she sent them out there, almost like she deserves reward money. And I don't really care who gets it. I know Adventures with Purpose, I think they give it to the family or whatever. But I was kind of curious as to if that was even where you were using your drone.
So I used the drone two places. When I was at Prosser, which is the lake where she was found, reservoir, I was flying it on that point where she was found, and to the left, this little finger of water kind of comes to the end in a weird shape, because I had information that that's where the cell phone ping came from. So yes, the footage, now the cold stream is pretty distinctive because that's a pond. It's like a small, like maybe 200 yards long. You could, in other words, when I'm shooting it, you could see both the edges pretty much. So if it's from Prosser, then it's right in the area where the car was found. I saw one set.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
On Grizzly, this channel that so that is kind of convincing. And however, it's about 30, 40 feet from the actual location, but it's also up current from it. So I took that footage about 5 days before the find. So can the car move in 5 days? I don't know. I just don't know the physics of that. If it does move with the current, it would be going right towards the direction where it was found. As far as somebody saying they're going to get out of the reward money, I'm staying out of that. Like, that's not, like, I didn't really think about that before the drone footage up. Maybe I should have. But that's something I think that they would have to work out with. They would have to ask law enforcement, like, did you, or whoever, like, I don't know. I guess if that was posted publicly, then, but I don't know. They would have to ask, whoever they think they need to ask, like, was it used? I have zero information. Like, I don't think anybody out there, no law enforcement agency brought up the drone footage. However, I will say that it got a little contentious with Adventures finding it so quickly.
Didn't someone say they sent that drone footage to Adventures with Purpose?
There's some questions asked a few times, like how it could be missed. And it was when those questions were asked that all of a sudden there seemed to be, all of a sudden these new questions came up about who got notified when. It kind of seemed to almost, I guess, divert from another narrative. I think, listen, I think that there's probably a little frustration going on that on one end and maybe a little embarrassment on the other. And but don't think they should be, embarrassed. I mean, they really put in a hell of an effort. Everybody did, and it is. I can see how you could miss it.
So
but,
what's, and they
but I think that,
sent it to them.
when people start, I don't know. I can understand why the family's frustrated. It took so long to find it. I can understand everybody's point in it. I really can. And I'm just staying out of the whole reward thing and everything.
Right. Well, I made a comment to Rose the other day that, I live on a lake, and right now I live in Alabama, and our lake is so dry. I mean, our docks in our neighborhood is on
This
dry
part
land.
right here.
And if we try to put a kayak or even, my husband's John boat in it, you sink like almost knee deep in mud. And I just don't get why there wasn't tire tracks or.
Oh, well,
unless she was going so fast that she had to be airborne or something. I don't get that.
I don't either. And the thing is I know that there's a lot of people that are saying, keep in mind, I was not there the night of the party, obviously. I didn't get there until like 5 days later. A lot of people were talking about rain. However, I looked at the historical rain. I looked at the historical weather, and I don't believe there was any rain that night. There was, and it wasn't even that much during the day. There was like a shower, like if you look on the historical data, there was a brief period, but the low was like 64 degrees or something like that. So that confuses me too. Why is there no physical evidence? Because keep in mind, they're out at Prosser starting the next day looking, because they know where the party was at. Why is there no physical evidence? I don't know the answer to it. It seems like there should be. There was, like I said, I didn't get there like 5 days after. Like the second night I was there, it did rain pretty hard for a couple of hours, but that's almost a week after the car goes missing. So there's already been the majority of, the intense searches. And keep in mind, the first day they were using helicopters, and they were shooting video from the helicopter. So I hope that they have maybe they have evidence of tracks, but it's bizarre. This whole case is so bizarre. There's so many weird things to it.
So,
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Steve, I have quite a few people messaging me questions too, so I don't want to breeze past it. I know PhD.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So one was Kiely, and you don't have to answer this because this is very personal, and I don't know if you even know the answer, but was Kiely brought up in the car or separately? Like, I guess there's been some chatter that she was removed from the car. I've just recently seen that before they took the car out of water.
I'll be honest. I can tell you when the car was found, for a fact. I've seen stuff. She was in the car. And I know people are going to ask about where she was in the car, and I'm not going to answer that out of respect for the investigation and for the family. I know that people like that sucks. Like, why can't you say? But
It's already been said that she was in the back.
I guess I would say those clues are probably, if you look at the footage, are there. I left as soon as we saw the nose of the car and he was willing to leave. I left. I did not want to see that part. There was originally talk of possibly removing her before, depending on how the car did coming out. And I don't, but then I know it changed that they weren't going to do that. They didn't want to touch anything. I don't know how it, I just don't know the answer to it. It could have gone either way. I know there's discussion of both ways, but I don't know how it ended up.
And then also, from the party spot, like if you're standing up at the party spot, could you see from that area the spot that her car ended up?
No, but you would literally have to go through.
I know there's just like a ton of trees. Yeah.
You'd go through a forest of trees. So she at least would have to go a good half mile and drive successfully on a dirt road between trees, before she could get to that area. There's no way to there's no open pasture or anything to it.
Okay, PhD.
guys.
Hey.
Hi, Boo. Hi, Boo.
Rose, are you ready?
No. So I just want to thank you also for being out there and intercepting that news for the family. Like, holy hell. I can't think of anything more devastating than having to go through that. So my two questions are, and I want to make it really super clear that I'm not asking this question. I'm not asking you in any way, shape, or form to comment on anything that you were shown or like personally saw. And I appreciate you like protecting the integrity of the case by not answering those questions. Outside of that, though, I'm just curious if the family had made any comments to you at any point prior, to the vehicle and Kiely being found about how, was she like really super adamant about her seatbelt, like in the car, click it?
This is a good question. I wondered.
And we'll answer that one first, and then I'll ask the next one.
I asked that specifically, and I don't think anybody knew the answer, or I didn't get. I didn't get a. I will say, by the time I asked that question, her father was already at the CHP building, so it was only to her grandfather who I didn't get any. Solid answer from. I did look. I did research that today to find out if that car has that one of the buzzers or whatever that sound. And I also was trying to find out if it had a crash data recorder, which it appears that it does have a crash data recorder in the CRVs starting in 2012, and that was in 2013, if I remember right. I never found out if it had the thing where you'll get the buzzer if you're not wearing a seatbelt. So I don't know. I did try to find that out though, but he just didn't know the answer.
Okay, and second question. My ADHD was spiraling when you were giving the description of, what I would presume, and we don't know this, but like in my brain, I'm just thinking that she made a right instead of a left, out of the party. Well, okay, so I guess I have a third question, but when you were describing the landscape and the potholes and the road and the consistency of the earth, were you suggesting that, I guess, is there any point in the last however many feet, I suck at this, 100 feet, whatever, of roadway, is it impossible for her to get, based on your experience on that road, up to 15, 20, 30 miles per hour?
So if you're talking about just that last 100 feet or so when you get on that, what I'll call like a peninsula, which is kind of like the diamond point, we're not around the tip of it, that is relatively, that's almost shaped like a boat ramp. It's pretty hard packed. It's not the boat ramp once you pull up. That's the next hill over. But yes, you could if you got down to that point. But the dirt roads leading to that and that leading to the party, those are not as straight as they look. So what they are is the whole place is an ATV off-road recreational site. So they have these ATV offloading areas. So those are ATV trails, really. So they got these and people jump and stuff. So it's like that type of terrain. And so if you made it, I don't know how she would. I guess what confuses me is you'd be driving. So she obviously made it that far, and then I think that gets to be that solid dirt, that is flat dirt that leads to the water there. I just gotta believe. I didn't go look at it at night, so I don't know the answer. But I gotta believe that it's pretty. You can see that black, the water black. I don't know. It would be a colossal screw up. Could it happen? Of course. I mean, if there was psychedelics involved, and nobody has told me that. It's just that I've seen certain profiles, that have the stuff like that. Like, I guess anything could happen. It's just so confusing. Like, how do you go that far before something happened? Like, I would honestly think that the car would have rolled in the ravines or potholes before, if you're driving that carelessly. But this thing is a real weird case, and I think that's one of the reasons why they are doing it. They're treating it as a criminal investigation, not because they have proof of a crime, but just in case. They're just they're doing it to be safe, because I think everybody's stumped. I mean, I honestly did not think they were going to find that car in the water. I did not think the car was in the water. I thought that they cleared it. I was shocked where it was. I mean, that buoy in the pictures I saw, it looks even a little further out than it was. I mean, I was there the day before, and there was a couple swimming with their dog right on top of the car. I mean, right on top of it the whole day. So it was right there. And I did not think the car was going to be found in there. I thought that, especially when there was the news that they had cleared the other lakes, and I was like, okay, it's just a matter of time. And then, bad news.
Okay, final question. Sorry. I can't figure this out from pictures, but I got a sense of you're driving down the road, and then on the right is the entrance to the party. It's like a long dirt road, it seems, that leads back into the middle of the woods. Where were all these cars parking for the party, though? Were they along the main dirt road, that little dirt road, or is there some kind of a lot back there near the woods?
So, at the actual party location, so that road that goes back there, the whole way along that road, you would have no problem parking a car on each side. It's pretty open because the trees aren't super dense, so you'd have no problem parking a car all the way along the road, one on each side. And then when you got to the actual party location, now if you look at those pictures, there's only 20 or 30 people in that. Then you could park a lot of cars in that party area. Plus, just on the other side of the road from the party area is kind of this other open area, and they were over there too. One thing I will say about the party location, it was really spread out. Like the first 3 days I spent searching, you find a lot of stuff out there. There was a lot of leftover stuff. So there was the main party location, but you could tell where people were splintering off in groups and going. Some people had gone all the way down, had walked down the steep hill from there, which you'd have to go through the trees, so no cars went that way. But people went down to the water. I was told there's people down the water. There was definitely people on the other side of, the dirt road. The stuff was spread for, a good, block on each side, but the majority was there's this one, area where you can tell there's a barbecue grill at it even, that's left out there. So, but there's no camping. So, the campgrounds, are over by the boat ramp. This is an ATV, area. So, and this is just a road this road actually can connect all the way back to the 89. And I did it one time, but and they did say that people left that way and stuff, and people went a couple different ways. So there's not just one way to come into the park. There's actually two, but at the very end they connect to the same outlet. But you can loop all the way around, and it's kind of it's confusing. But it would be a long, slow ride because you'd be on that really rough road the whole time instead of being on the asphalt for the first mile or so, like you are.
Have any of Kiely's friends mentioned anywhere publicly, since I'm not on Facebook, have any of her friends mentioned where her car was parked that night? Was it parked out on the main road, and maybe that's why she was facing that direction and went that direction?
I have tried to get that same answer. I've been unsuccessful, and I know that at least the grandfather and father have not been able to get that answer either. That's something that was very much of interest to me and to them. I think they shockingly they're not getting information and sitting on it. They're not getting information. Now, I will say that I believe the mother is the lead, the person, the contact person for law enforcement. And I'm sure, and David even said this, not everything probably closed down all the way. And I don't think he's just, it's a different lifestyle. And like, as far as like, he's just like, well, I'm told what I'm supposed to be told. And, so she might know that. I did not meet her. Just so everybody knows, I did not meet the mom the whole time I was there. I never saw her. So I don't know. I did really try to get that information because I think that's a critical piece, like where she parked. I think it's got to be close to the main party area, just because they said they went back and forth to the car 2 times, I think, now to charge their phones.
A couple of times.
And if she was parked way down the road, I just don't think, especially when drinking, like you go back and forth twice,
Hey, I have a question too. By the way, Steve.
Wait.
Tyler. We have to raise hands.
I'm so sorry. I just
okay.
hopped on. I wasn't sure.
You gotta raise hands.
I apologize.
It's okay, Tyler. We have one more person before you, and then you can
Thank you.
question. No problem. I was going to call on Courtney. Hey, you've been waiting patiently.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Steve. Thanks for taking the time. I'm wondering the damage that we see to the car in the pictures, particularly like it seems like the driver's side window was broken, the mirror kind of hanging. Do you think that damage was done during the removal of the car or in some kind of accident prior to the car being found?
Okay, so like I said, I saw some imagery from before law enforcement got there. The car was sitting in an awkward position. However, I do not think that, and again, I can't be certain, but I do not think that the side window was broken. When it was, I think there's a chance that some damage was done because they did say they made the decision to roll the car underwater. Because they were afraid. Originally, they told us, and this isn't like inside information, they came over and told us how the process was going to be. They said they were going to just drag it up on its roof, remove her right at the shoreline, and pull it up. And then the FBI team got there, and things changed things seemed to change a little bit. And then the decision was made that they thought it was safer to go ahead and roll the car with divers. They were having the tow truck driver make some jerking movements with a chain, and then the divers were rolling the vehicle. I think there's a chance that occurred there. Now, I think you see some other stuff in the windows in the back and stuff, and that, I believe, how you see it underwater.
And I just have one more quick follow-up. Obviously, we've heard there were hundreds of people at this party. Do you think that, it might require speculation a little bit, but do you think there are or were any witnesses to what happened that just aren't coming forward for some reason?
I don't mind speculating about this because this really makes me mad. I something is wrong here. It is so silent in that town. You can feel it. I was there 6 full days of searching. I think this happened on the 7th day. But I was there 6 full days of searching. I never saw one of the friends or anybody searching or at the volunteer center.
Wow.
Both times I ever went to the volunteer center or anytime I drove by the volunteer center, there was not a person besides the volunteer who was manning the center working there. It just seems like, I don't know,
wow.
The party I was at, whether I came with a person or not, I would have put in more than 5 or 6 days into this. It's eerily silent. Nobody seems to have been at this party. There's only these 3 pictures that look like they're shot on film from the Nirvana timeline. Something is very odd. I don't know how you get that many people to remain silent. I understand
don't know
that.
Either.
Okay, so at that time, but we're told and this is a public statement, we're told that when she calls at the 12:36 after the
Couldn't have been.
somehow, she can hear she's still at the party because all the people in the background. So where are those people?
Exactly.
Like she's lived there her whole life. People knew who she was. I know she was a couple of years age difference, but she didn't stay there completely by herself without knowing a single person, I wouldn't think. I mean, something is just very like, I mean, to me, it's really frustrating to spend time out there searching for somebody, especially when they come up deceased and nobody is saying anything. And listen, and this is speculation. I mean, you're dealing with the best of the best now. You're dealing with FBI and the card teams. Listen, there is, and now they have the car, and I have no idea if the phone was in there or not. That's not something they tell me, and I honestly have no idea. I'll bet you it was.
I think it was.
And so those people that
if they know something, red flag.
Law enforcement knows you know something now. Now you're really got yourself in the jam, I think. But I don't know. Maybe she just was following some cars out of there and went the other way too. Maybe nobody did see her. I just find that hard to believe. But this could be a freak accident because I also don't know how you get 18-year-olds to stay on a conspiracy theory script for this long.
Unless there was only two of them.
Especially when there's a $75,000 reward plus a Hellcat. I mean, that's like might as well be $1 billion to a 17-year-old, you know.
Unless only two of them knew about it.
So it's a mystery.
Just one last thing, if I may. I've seen a lot on social media about her calling one particular friend, and there was some arrangement to drive that friend home. Did the family or anyone ever confirm that to you, or is that is that a fact?
Calling a friend, like calling a different, to drive her home, did you say?
Yeah, I saw a friend had spoken out and said that she called her. Kiely had called the friend and said, are you doing okay? Can I give you a ride home? And the friend in an interview had said she had sounded too intoxicated, so she decided to get a ride with someone else or something like that.
Right.
That's really Kiely called her.
That was going. That's her friend.
Sam.
Originally,
say her name.
They
Sam.
were going to, ride home together, and then Kiely apparently sends the text asking if she can extend her curfew because they want to stay later at the party, even though it was a super scary party. And then they leave the car after that text, and then that girl decides that she's too, I think, inebriated was the exact word. So she was too inebriated. Tells Kiely she's leaving, and 5 or 6 minutes after she leaves, Kiely apparently calls her 3 minutes after the phone last cell ping. Somehow she calls her and says, "Oh, hey, do you still need a ride home?" She says, "No, I already told you that I got another ride home," and she had left.
Doesn't even make sense.
It's bizarre. I think those need to be really worked out. What the real. I understand that these are kids and
well, there's someone who's not alive no more.
So it's a stressful situation, but
bring them in.
Such critical.
Bring them in.
Points of what should be fact. To know by investigators to put this puzzle together.
Right. Thanks so much for your insight, Steve. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, Tyler, go ahead.
Hey, sorry I hopped on there earlier.
No, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Steve, it's great to meet you. My name's Tyler. I'm a YouTuber who's been covering this case. I appreciate some of the drone footage and things that you've done. I've been following your Twitter page and everything. Can you answer, yesterday I was looking at some of the footage. There was an area that was roped off. It looked to be about the size of a vehicle. And there was 4 orange cones and then there's caution tape around it. Can you answer what that area was that was roped off yesterday?
Yeah, so they got asked earlier, but it's been a while, so I don't mind explaining it. So
this was asked already.
3 separate agencies had investigations going on, and one of them being CHP
Which is California Highway Patrol.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I live in California. So
California Highway Patrol.
And so they, a couple hours into the find, they were taking like measuring sticks and poles, and they had a camera like up on the higher lane. They were doing all types of measurements, and there was no piece of physical evidence that was surrounding. It seemed to be like an area of where maybe they think it was a significant like crossing point or something. And I'm not dancing around the question. I didn't ask them, and they didn't tell me. But I can tell you that I walked in that area earlier, so there wasn't like there wasn't something there. No. They seem to have. All their stuff seemed to be very like mathematical based and like angles and stuff. So the measurements they were taking. So I have a feeling that was just I watched them rope it off, and I was like, oh, what is going on? But they didn't seem.
My thought was like that maybe they had a picture that was turned in, and they were thinking that her vehicle was parked in that location.
Well, for it to be parked there, it would be one hell of a hike to get up to where the party was at. It would be long, and it would also be steep, and you have to go through these like pricker bushes and stuff. So I can tell you that there was some like other outside of that box that what you can't see in the photo is there's some other like indicators leading up to it. So I think that's the spot where they think that maybe like there's an inflection point or something like that. What we heard at the press conference today is that the lake is dropped 1 to 3 feet. So they said it was actually another like 15 feet of shoreline at that point. So if that's the case, then I don't see how that's underwater. So I don't even know how it's a significant area. But I'm not going to question CHP either. It didn't make much sense to me, but I don't know the answer, like exactly what it was. But besides, I can tell you there was nothing physical in there.
Do you know when they pulled the vehicle out of the water, was it in neutral or drive?
Good question.
I don't know.
But he wouldn't know.
That was my very first question, actually, to mention the purpose, and they did not check that. If you see the underwater stuff, which I mean nobody will see, but I mean there's visibility, but for a diver, but it's not like substantial. So they didn't. The car was in a weird position, and so they didn't know. That was the first thing I asked in front of her dad and grandfather. I said, was it in neutral? And they didn't know. So that's good. That's probably the primary thing I'd like to know.
It seemed like today in that press conference, law enforcement was upset at Adventures with Purpose. Can you help me understand that?
So there was some frustration out there.
It was obvious.
Well, okay. So first of all, about an hour in, Adventures with Purpose moved their equipment out, but I think the family, rightfully so, is like has some questions like, how is the car right there?
Yeah.
Like how is it right there? And like because they were told, at least it was told to me, they were told that this area has like been officially sweeped and it's clear, and like they were dialing back the investigation. So had Investors with Purpose not come, who knows what happened with this case? And then there was, it was said, it was like, how in 30 minutes is this car found? And that question got asked several times to those same people that you saw at the press conference. That got asked yesterday to them with a bit of frustration, and I think that and they they said we need to learn how Adventures with Purpose what their technique was to find it that quick. So when that was happening and
Thanks,
these
Scott.
questions got asked more than a couple times, then they came to me and to David, and they started
Exactly.
asking about the notification, not about how I notified, but about like they didn't ask. They were making statements that like, oh well, it was it was done by social media or something, and then I heard there's some stuff here I gotta be careful about, but I think that I don't think that.
So it had to do with how information about Kiely got out to the public.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's safe to assume that a call wasn't made to the mother. I think they're separating, at least the family is, I believe, like the call with Venture for Purpose, and they expected a call from law enforcement, and I know that expected call went quite a ways, and that got asked about. But then the narrative kind of they seem to go on offense a little bit, and that's what I saw today. I don't care if they're listening in on this. I don't think that was handled really well. I still haven't.
Me neither.
I haven't gone back and rewatched it, but I could be totally wrong on this. But I could have swore that the very last question was something like, "Has the family said anything about the thousands of tips that have come in," or something like that? And it was almost like, and then they said, the guy stepped in and said, "Okay, we're in the press conference here."
The last question that I heard, and it was on the video that I was watching, and it ended when they're asking about the team-to-team meetup, and they didn't answer the question.
Yes, you're right. And you're right. And then, so when the family stuff came in, I don't know. Like, I felt like it was very much a like we're not getting credit for the work type of thing. And I think that's stuff that can be worked out down the line. Like right now, I mean, they just found her.
C-Dub, no.
I don't think Adventures with Purpose was trying to like take. I mean, yeah, they said, "Listen, we found her. We did our job," and I'm not saying law enforcement didn't do their job. They did.
It was
like,
this guy that told mom and dad about it. I mean, mom and dad told dad and grandpa.
I saw. So, but I just felt like today was kind of like, and I felt even kind of at me. There was some shade thrown with the notification, the way they did the notification thing. Well, what was that family supposed to? How long were they? When we left last night, after grandfather said, "I just want to see the car, and then we'll go." And
go for it, July.
I don't know, 6 hours. They still would not say that. They're like, we can't say that there's, like we can't make a notification to you because we don't know if there's a person in there. I mean, well, they did know that, but like we just know there's remains. So, at what point would have they? I know that they made a notification when they were digging up a dog grave, but I don't know why. Like how long it takes for them to. How long would it taken for them to notify the family, anyways?
Well, I think a phone call takes about 10 seconds. That's the thing I don't understand.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is, like, at what point do they say, okay, we've got enough suspicion here that this is her, that we let the family know, hey, we're working the car has been found, appears to be a body inside. I don't know when that call did. Like, well,
to me, it was 1,000% clear that they had told Adventures with Purpose, hey, you need to go search these other lakes because we've already cleared out Prosser. Our dive teams are focused on the 50 other ponds and lakes and streams that are around Prosser. And Adventures with Purpose from the jump wanted to go and search Prosser, and then they were basically told not to. And then they go and search it, and then within 35 minutes, they're able to find Kiely in the vehicle. Now, I have a lot of questions about that.
One thing, all right, so let me just correct one thing there, because, again, I don't want to pile on law enforcement, but, and I'll let Adventures with Purpose answer this, but that part I don't believe is accurate. Adventures with Purpose actually did want to search a different location. They wanted to start in a different order. And I'll let you ask them why. I'm sure that they'll say why.
They said it was because they'd been given a tip from law enforcement on their Facebook page.
About a different area?
They said that they received confidential tips, things that they're not allowed to discuss in public.
So what I'm saying is I know what that confidential tip is. And I can't say, and I don't think that they're definitely not going to say, none of us are going to say what that is. However, I think that I don't think that they wanted to do Prosser first. I think there was a change of plans based on some confidential information that they received. Not that they didn't receive it from. They passed that on to law enforcement. They're the ones who received it.
So it was coming in through some of the work that you were doing.
No. They I take no credit for that confidential tip. It was somebody. They came in town and actually went to some restaurants, did some legwork. I think they started talking to people, and
I see. Okay,
that was they're 100% responsible for that and for the fine and everything. But and the confidential tip, I didn't feed them. I didn't have any conversation with them prior to after it was announced that Kylie been found. I never met them or anything, so I didn't give them anything. They did that all. They work. I mean, they have a great process, you know.
Oh yeah, they're very thorough. There's one thing that I wanted to touch base with you on, and there's so many other YouTubers like me that are covering this case, and
they did try
honestly,
to say they didn't say
were all
that.
going after different teenagers in this and painting them as victims, and I was standing up for the teenagers. I felt like I was a lone man out there on my own little island, sticking up for teenagers who have never had to deal with loss in a peer situation before, and were having to process that. And I just felt like maybe that there was some misinformation about what was going on with the way that some of those local teenagers were handling the situation. Can you just share, what did the family think about the teen-to-teen thing, some of the other students that were involved in helping getting down to the bottom of this case?
So again, I never met the mom, but I saw her statements on the news that she seemed very supportive of them. I think that myself included, and also the family members that I did meet, I think there's definitely no accusations or anything, but it was like, listen, we need this. This is before she was found by Veterans Purpose, but we were like, listen, somebody saw something or heard something. It's like, and you really can say anonymous. So, in other words, they had these, not even the teen-to-teen meetings. I'm talking about like I think they had lines set up where you could anonymously text or you could call, and but maybe it is just a weird situation happened out there, because I don't think you can keep that many people quiet. But I talked to.
I agree. How can you keep 300 teenagers quiet about a wild party?
It's impossible, and especially if that's his reward, and you got the guy offered Hellcat. But I talked to one of the girls that worked at the front desk at the hotel I was staying at. I could tell was
keep two people quiet over a cover up.
High school, she's probably like 21 or something like that.
Sarah.
And I talked to her and I said, first of all, every business that you went to was plastered with posters, so everybody knew about this case. And so I was talking to her, and she said, everybody in town is being really, really quiet. And she said, there's part of the reason is there's a large Hispanic population there. It's like work population. A lot of them are undocumented, and she was Hispanic, and so she knows that for a fact. And she said that there definitely is talk from the parents worried about deportation. And then I heard from another person that I talked to that has kids around that age, and they said that there was definitely talk around the parents of other kids that they were afraid about them losing their college commitments, their conditional commitments or whatever, to if they were in any way wrapped up in that. I think it turned into a bigger.
The deport
like 200 people
makes sense to me.
Came up with a scheme to get her in the water. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody's responsible, it's one or two people. If somebody's responsible besides her, which is a big if. But the other people, there's no reason not to speak up, So that's really, it is frustrating. I gotta say, we have to be like, come on. I mean, this is a human being we're looking for that could possibly still be alive if she's like in the trees somewhere. So, and it was frustrating, and it did get to the point where it's like, okay, if you're not talking, then why aren't you talking?
I'm frustrated about it, as I think, the vast majority of the public that was involved in this. Now, the family that you are in conversation with, is their initial hunch that it was a total accident, or did they suspect foul play, like in their gut? I'm not saying obviously evidentiary.
Right. I'm being totally honest when I say this. They kept asking me, like, what are your, they have no idea. I mean, and neither do, that's what I thought. They're like, you've worked around a lot of these, like, tell us, like, what could, and I would just have to tell them, be like, David, I do not know. I mean, I'm like, this is so confusing. This is such a confusing one. They don't know. I mean, like, of course he would bring up those scenarios. They would be like, well, they both would, the dad and the mother. They'd be like, maybe this happened. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe, maybe she just got messed up and took a wrong turn. Maybe this, or like every scenario was talked about, but nobody was like locked on to anything, because then you would go like, but wait, that doesn't make sense because of this, and there's always something that makes it not make sense, like I just don't know how the car gets there from where it started. Yeah. Even if somebody was trying to get rid of the damn car, like, it's still a weird spot, so I don't, the whole thing is just such a mystery.
Everyone is definitely confused by all of it. Is there anything that no one has asked that you felt like was important, needs to be brought to the light, and hasn't been brought to the light quite yet?
That's a good question. Nothing that jumps up. I will say that everything that I asked of Kyle's father and grandfather, they didn't dodge any questions. They were very honest with me, and there was nothing shocking, but that's a good question. Nothing pops out right now. There's nothing like, no, I guess the question, I'm just stumped. I really, I honestly hope that there's enough evidence there for even the FBI, where there's the best in the world. I hope that there's stuff there for them to make a determination,
Well, did they say it was typical for her to be in the back of the car in a situation like this, especially when they said she had been seatbelted in one other report?
So I haven't seen those reports, and somebody had asked earlier about where she was in the car, because I saw her. I don't want to say. It sounds like there's word getting out about maybe it's different areas or something. I don't want to confirm that, just out of respect to the family and to the investigation. But I have no idea if it's typical for somebody to be in a different area. I just don't have any expertise in like underwater collisions or anything like that, but especially underwater. So, and the seatbelt thing, I know some of the answers too, but I don't know what's typical and what's not. So, I don't know.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Sure. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. Thanks for the good questions.
Joe, go ahead.
Hey guys, I just really quickly wanted to jump on and say thank you to Steve for spending that time doing the searches and with the family. I know that was, like you said, really hard and emotionally intense. But I wanted to just thank you for all of the effort that you put in, and I just want to say, like, I know you're like the real deal. Like, you really care about the cases that you're working on. So I really appreciate that, because I know you've been helping me a lot with my brother. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joanne. And I promise you, we're not anywhere near. We're never gonna give up on Vlad now that we're involved in. You have that commitment from me, and we're right back on his case.
Yes, I will.
So,
GTS.
I appreciate the kind words, though, and I promise you, we're putting every effort into Vlad, because there needs to be some answers on that, obviously, and you guys need to find out what his status is, and hopefully we can help you do that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Some of these are really good questions.
I don't know if it was PhD or M, so y'all can duke it out.
I'll go first. I unmuted. So I did just want to say, based on the Adventures with Purpose Facebook post, like the original post, it does seem like the first thing they said was parent notified singular, and then less than a minute, like pretty much a minute later, they changed it to family notified. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that they called Kylie's mother first, and that's kind of where the miscommunication started, because you can go in on Facebook and see all of the edit history, and I can see it. At first, it originally said parent notified, and then, it says family. So that's probably what happened there.
Okay, so that would make sense, because when I was notified...
Wait, are you guys having trouble with my sound, or am I tripping, or... You guys hear it fine, right? Okay. Thank you, Amber. I'm like, I see it moving. Sorry.
By DX of the news, and I had to inform them. We were, from the time I told them, the time that we were at Adventures with Purpose was no more than 60 to 90 seconds, because we were close. And like I said, we went rushing down there. The father was on a quad runner.
So now they're going to talk about how they learned about it.
Like, stop, because they thought, so I think the social media post. And then I was like, it's the family. And they're like, oh, okay. So then I know that they have some people there that I think are like communications or whatever, or PR. So maybe once they learned that was the father and the grandfather, maybe they changed that. I honestly have no information on that. I'm just speculating, but that would kind of make sense where that maybe that confusion came in where they changed it, because then they have notified,
Well, it was a very quick change, and there's a lot of very quick changes. Like there's another edit at 5:34, so that's just 4 minutes later. Another one 3 minutes after that. So they were constantly editing. So I think it was probably just their PR team maybe making it bad.
So I can jump in on timeline. So they posted it probably at least 15 minutes before I even saw it.
They're talking about the Adventures
if there
with
was
Purpose
a
post.
minute between the first edit and the first post, like it definitely wasn't because of me calling you and letting you know. So, and that's how I kind of knew, like, of course I was going to call you. I talked to you like 25 minutes prior, and I hadn't heard anything from you. So I was like, I don't think, there's no way they know. And so that was the most concerning part, is the family notified part, and I knew y'all didn't know.
So you're saying the edit, you guys are saying that the edit 1 or 2 minutes later was from the original, because I didn't realize that much time that they had posted that long before we found out.
So the original one was, we just found Kiely, car is upside down and only 14 feet of water. We have confirmed Kiely is inside, parent notified, law enforcement on the way. And then a minute later, they changed it to family notified. And then again, they added, 4 minutes later, they added Prosser Lake, only a few hundred yards from the campground. And then they took that out. And then the final edit that I can see was them saying, like, we'll be on scene the rest of the day. So it seems like maybe it was just like a miscommunication, and they were just kind of updating as they, because it seems like they added the location and then took it back again. So gotcha. I think it was probably they were worried about giving away too much maybe or something.
I can tell you from the timestamp of my phone that DX called me at 2:48 Pacific time, and 2:48, and it's like a 40-second phone call, so it's not long. At 2:48 is when I find out. I had talked to her. I texted her at 2:40, or texted 2:40. No, I'm sorry. That's I guess it was 2:19.
Yeah, we talked on the phone.
2:19. So it was actually 20. But at 2:48, so I had already gotten the info. That's why we were about to head up. I had gotten the photos and stuff. At 2:48, I get the incoming call from the ex, which I had answered on speaker before, but this time did not answer on speaker. And I think that was the first thing you asked me, like, are you on speaker? And if I remember right. And so 248 is the first I have any idea that she found.
Okay,
so,
well, the post is from, the screenshot is from someone who's in Eastern Standard Time, I believe. But it says the original post was 5:29 p.m., so that would be Eastern Time.
So,
and then,
so it's
about 20 minutes, yeah.
21
and then
minutes.
the edit is a minute after that. So pretty quick edits. Like the edits are, it's done editing by like 6 p.m. So between 5:29 and 6 Eastern Standard Time, they made 5 edits to that post.
Okay. So it sounds like quite a bit. I didn't realize 21 minutes had gone on before we found out. So yeah, so I don't think anything, was done maliciously. I mean, I definitely don't, but I can tell you, like, I don't even have Mr. Robinson's, or her grandfather's phone number. I don't know if he has one, to be honest. I have his email. Like, so I don't know what contact information that they would exactly have. I don't know when they call police. I will tell you that I went through Scanner, just trying to see if I was called in Scanner, or I didn't find anything yet, but I don't know. Like, this was all kind of news to me. Like, when I heard,
crazy,
like, when I came back, I really wasn't checking Twitter at all. I was like really just kind of devastated, or still am, but yesterday, and then driving back, I got home at like 6:30 this morning, and then I saw this kind of like this talk about notification, and like I should have never notified the father and the grandfather, and I was like, so I had no idea what was going on. 21 minutes. I don't know what their eventual purpose process is. I can tell you that I think the family's very grateful for them, but I don't want to speak for them, but I mean they did. It was very clear. They made it very clear that they were so grateful, but I don't know if this was like botched or whatever. I just know when I got the information, and it was that she had been found, and it was her in the car, and I didn't feel I had any choice. That was except to tell them. I felt it was the right thing to do, because they did.
Yeah, of course.
You could see social media. You could see people like coming down, like from the campground. So like people were starting. You could see them on the ridge line. By then, within an hour, there was 500 people up there. Cameras and stuff. So obviously they've gotten out on social media, and of course, like if I have that information, I can't sit on that. It's like, hey, if there's an article out there that says it's confirmed, what am I supposed to do? Call 911 and be like, I need you to come out here and do a notification? Like, So I mean, yeah, but yeah. So that was news to me. Like, you just told me, so I didn't know that much time. It was that much earlier, which is bizarre, because we're literally, that means that we were.
So it was what, 20 minutes before you found out?
Sounds like it. I mean, at 2:48 is the incoming call. 2:48 Pacific time, so 5:48 Eastern. Is the incoming call from DX telling me?
Okay,
so
yeah.
I tell them at like 2:49.
Yeah, so the original post is 5:29 Eastern. So yeah, 2:29.
Yes. Yeah.
Law enforcement said during the presser today that that they found out from social media, so that was interesting.
I mean, so here's one thing though, is that was Nevada County at the presser today, and not Placer County, who we've seen in all the other ones, because Kiely lived in Placer County, so she was a missing person out of Placer County. They found her in Nevada County, so Nevada County took it over last night. Placer County closed there, or it'll technically be closed upon official determination that it's her. However, they have no reason to consider her a missing person right now. So that was a different agency that we saw today. Now, they were doing them kind of joint before, but I think it was more Placer heading them up. So the vegetable purpose probably called Placer.
Which
they
would
probably
make
called
sense.
the non-emergency line at Placer. And that's just what I'm guessing. I have not asked anybody, but like if I was out there, if I was out searching like I was, and I had run across her, I would have called Placer because I didn't know that reservoir is Nevada County. Across the county's changed like right at the water line. So
that makes sense.
I would if I was trying to figure that out, I would call Placer County and find out when they got a call.
No, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And that they probably did and called out.
I mean, that's just speculation too, though. But that's
right,
what
yeah.
Say,
But that would certainly make sense and probably make me feel better about the whole thing. All right, it's you in a second. Sorry, Steve. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I think that's why we didn't see the public information officer. I saw some people chatter about that. And I think I'm pretty sure she was from Placer County, the one who was doing the press conferences before. And today, that guy, the guy who, well, the female that led the one today, I'm pretty sure she's the lead detective now. And then the other guy that did the speaking was a guy that we had a lot of interaction with yesterday. None with her, but so that was a different cat. That might have been like, what optics weren't that great. Where people, I think they were wondering why the public information officer wasn't there, and then why they didn't get a call. But I'll bet you Placer County did, and then Placer County probably had to relay it. They probably had I'm sure whoever took the non-emergency call was had to call the supervisor and be like, hey, that dive team thinks they found a car, and they probably got to find out, okay, well, how do we do with this call? And they're probably like, okay, we'll give it to Nevada County. There could have been some lag time there, just trying to figure out, those that might not have been worked out in advance, and it was a Sunday.
Go ahead, PhD.
Pretty much everything Steve just said, but I just wanted to clarify also that, I might have been responsible for some of that confusion yesterday because, I was kind of freaking losing my mind when I thought that, the family could have found out from Facebook. But I have scaled back on that since also because Steve had mentioned that Grandpa didn't have a cell phone. It sounds like maybe Dad didn't have signal. So maybe, Mom tried to get a hold of him, blah, blah, blah. But whatever happened or didn't happen or how it didn't happen, I just, somebody had said something earlier about law enforcement being defensive, and I just wanted to clarify that I think it's all just a little bit shocking to them. I don't, in a situation where this wasn't a YouTuber with such a huge following, it's something that law enforcement probably would have taken a little bit more time to, and I don't think they're used to YouTubers with such a huge following. And I think that social media post kind of just threw them for a loop in that, from an incident command type situation, or especially where it's scaled back now and they have to call in FBI agents from here and CHP guys. I mean, they would have taken a little bit more time to start making notifications and make phone calls before whammo, social media posts. So I don't know that he was necessarily defensive about that to me. I mean, maybe a little irritated, I felt, but that's probably because they're not used to this at all.
Yeah, and that's not a big kind. And I think you're exactly right, because listen, it was once we found out, it was literally like watching ants come down an anthill. The hills just people started coming down from the campgrounds where you could tell people were parking along the highway and running down. And I mean, there was hundreds and hundreds of people up on the perimeter, and there was drones flying, and you could tell everybody had cameras out, and that was from social media. And I think that definitely caught everybody flat-footed. They're probably like, wow, this is happening in real time, because about an hour later, I saw all unmarked cruisers on the other side of the lake, backing people up off the getting people. They were everywhere. People were trying to come over on boats, and everybody wanted to get pictures. And I think it really how quickly, when they have that size of a following, it happened, and it caught me flat-footed. And it caught her grandpa. He was like, he's like, he did keep asking, he's like, do these people have lenses long enough to like get a picture of my granddaughter? And the public, or the liaison was like, the answer is yes. They're like, we're going to try and use the privacy screens, but if the wind's above about 20 miles an hour, we can't use them. So we're hoping that the wind dies down, and luckily that was the case. They were I will say one thing about law enforcement, they were so concerned, and they were so concerned, and they wanted privacy for her, and they really respected, her body, and there was a lot of talk about that, about making sure that nobody saw anything or got a picture, and they weren't doing that. They were doing that. They were doing that for Kiely. And I thought that was really, really cool. The amount of time they put in. They even talked about letting it get to be dark, before they did anything significant. Just out of respect for her, not becoming a showcase. And I was really impressed by that. That was all the agencies were talking about. They were all coordinating amongst themselves, like how the divers could do certain things without, her privacy being invaded. That was cool.
All right. Lastly, you've been waiting patiently.
Thanks. One thing I think I saw reporter Ben Marchant, right? One of the things I think that might have created some tension between Adventures with Purpose and law enforcement was that Adventures with Purpose, when they were asked by reporters, did law enforcement have the same equipment like the sonar? They said yes, and maybe that upset them too, because reporters are trying to stir the turd on that, so to speak. The question I have is the boat ramp. I'm going back again to the mud. I lived on the beach. I have seen people lose their cars, and it was rocky beach, not really, really muddy, but they got stuck, right? The boat ramp, right, is that concrete, and of course then it would be steep, which means that a car could, at a relatively decent speed, go down that, get in the water far enough, right? Is that anywhere remotely where her car ended up? And if that's the case, that would indicate some form of premeditation. And something else, her boyfriend's tweet that I saw today, or message that somebody had retweeted, there was a hint of perhaps a suicide pact. And also her best friend was on the news recently, and she emphasized how much they had been looking for her. And you said that you didn't feel like that was the case. And so I don't know. I'm with y'all. I think it's all very, very bizarre. And there are lots of questions. And so I'm just throwing out a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to shut up now.
Yeah, no problem. So, if we can, after this, maybe just go one or two more questions, DX, just because I'm kind of mentally shot. I don't want to, but so to answer your question, the boat ramp is nowhere. It is near. So the boat ramp, there's that body of land which is called the Prosser family picnic area or something like that. You go over that body of land, and then that's the boat ramp. It's kind of shaped like the area she was found, but it's a whole piece of land over. So
right here.
There's no way that comes into play. And then as far as those tweets go, I haven't seen them, to be honest with you. I don't know. I know there's a lot of speculation out there, and the thing is, there's gonna be until
I agree, Scott.
That's one of the things that's always so frustrating is I know they got to keep things close to the vest, but like, I don't know. Like, if we have, they're definitely, the toxicology report's going to be important. Listen, I think like it's probably safe to assume that it's not going to be clean. So, like, if something doesn't happen here pretty quick, then my gut tells me then it's probably going to be like accidental. I think if it's foul play, I think that they probably already have, they're pretty close to a case. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going to wait for a toxicology report. I could be wrong, but so I don't know. Like, you know, those tweets that you're talking about, and people speculating about, you know, there's probably nothing to it, but I haven't seen. I don't know. The whole case is so bizarre. It's total gas. But like, I think you gotta give people benefit of the doubt right now, and just assume that some not great decisions were made as far as like, I think it did. Listen, I was very public about the fact that I was really frustrated that maybe they were in different areas, but I didn't see any friend searching. I was told directly by a family member that, you know, one of the people had left town temporarily, and they might be back now. But so I was frustrated because I didn't see, until she was found, the 6 days I searched, I didn't see a single helicopter the whole time until the day she was found. And I ran across two other guys the whole time I was there that were searching. And now, they could be other places, but every time I went by the volunteer center, there's never anybody there either. And then Friday, they broke down the volunteer center and they took the trailer out and closed it up. So I just felt like it was like we were closing the door on her, and I made some posts saying like, "Get out here! You know, you're her friends. Like, she got left at this party. Get out here! You know, like, there needs to be some accountability." She's 16 years old, and I still have that frustration. You know, I understand this might be a mental, you know, warfare on them, but it's not about them or us or anything right now. It's about Kiely, and I think I just would like to see those that were with her at the party, whether they knew her or not, or had any interaction with her or not, kind of stand up and say, "Okay, we're gonna find her," you know. But it just seemed very quiet. And, when the cameras were around at the beginning, it seemed like there was a lot of people, but
yes,
like after that concert, it seemed like things. Yeah, I don't know. I just, you know, I wanted to find her alive, and it's just a big blow, just a gut punch, you know. I mean, not me personally, find her alive. I want her to be found alive, you know.
Yeah, and I do think that her friends, whether anybody's guilty of foul play or not, and it would, of course, only be one or a couple of them if that was the case. They have to live with the guilt for the rest of their lives, just because, you know, they left her at that party. And I mean, they'll always be questioning themselves, and part of me just really feels like that's good enough. I mean, there's nothing that the public can say, there's nothing anybody else can say that's going to make them feel any worse. And everybody already harassed those kids enough, you know, and I just feel like it's time to leave them alone.
You know, I get it, but I mean, I also, you know,
not
like
everybody on.
No, I know, but on the other side, I see both sides, but the other side, I'm like, what about Kiely lost her life? I understand, like,
Exactly. She lost her life.
An accident. She's the one who made the decision.
Somebody might know somebody.
I don't know. We all
something.
got to look out for each other a little bit. I'm not blaming it on any of them either. I was just frustrated, like, because I got there on Sunday, and so it's been 6 days, and it seemed like everything stopped over 6 days, and then it really stopped.
Wow.
The next Friday, because they broke the trailer down, and I was like, this case is going cold. Conventions with Purpose didn't show up. This case would have gone cold. I have no doubt about it.
Wow. That's
They went to find the car.
fucking crazy.
Yeah, and like you said, I do feel like when the camera stopped rolling, a lot of that just disappeared, and that made me really sad.
Yeah, it is, but I don't know. At least I mean, it's a horrible outcome, but at least there was an outcome.
I do wish that the general public would. I mean, they're definitely guilty of being crappy friends, but I do wish people would not harass them and stalk them on social media. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I think, I don't know, some statements of apology or something might go a long ways, but I have no idea. Because I don't know who was even there. I mean, I really don't. There's like one person that I'm pretty sure was that. I don't know who was at the party and who wasn't. It's just, there's not enough, at least for the public. I'm sure law enforcement knows way more. I think cell phones and cell towers and the car now. Car has a crash data recorder. It'll have timestamps. They have a lot of answers, I'm sure. And but as a member of the general public, it's kind of like, who was their party?
Joey, it was at 11:30. The text she sent her mom.
I don't know. It's all very baffling. With that, I think I'm shot.
Hello.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending over 2 hours answering everybody's questions, and we appreciate you so much, and I appreciate everyone that helped try to find Kiely. I mean, everyone here probably at least retweeted or shared a flyer or tried to submit ideas. So
exactly. I mean,
every little thing matters.
Every little thing. Every just like encouragement for the family, and it helps them mentally. Just every little thing. It's just the negative stuff does damage. But one last thing I want to say is I did not come in here. I have
bots are coming in.
No authority to speak on behalf of the Adventures of the Purpose or the
I can see that, Joey.
Mr. Robinson or
I'm with you on that.
It was just my experience, what I saw, and I hope I kept very personal details out of it. But I do think that when there is a call for help to the public, that there's also some answers to the people who retweeted, the people who scanned drone footage, the people who retweeted flyers or whatever. I think those people deserve to kind of know what's happening too, at least from what I know, without hurting the integrity of the investigation. And I wanted to clear some things up because the fact is there's people trying to spin some things to make it look like I did something malicious when I didn't, because they've got another fight with me, and they should take that up with me and not use any victim's name as a platform to get that word out there. And so I hope that the only reason I really wanted to do this tonight was really because from family seeing any of this, I felt like the only way to square it up was to let everybody know, hey, this is the way it really went down, and I hope the family is not upset you gave away too much information. But I've seen this before, what certain people can do, and they don't care about that person, and they will use that name. So I think the more people that have truth, and I believe these are verifiable facts, people need to verify it, then like I said, the FBI, everybody's got all my information. They know exactly who I am, what capacity I was there, and what licenses I have and don't have. So that let's let's leave Kiely out of it, I guess. And that's it.
Yeah, and I feel like during cases like this, everybody's emotions run really, really high.
That's
and
true.
it's not necessarily an excuse for people to treat everybody badly or anything. But I do feel like that's partially the cause of it for a lot of people, not everybody. These cases are very difficult and heartbreaking, and it's not easy doing what we do as a community. And I do thank everybody for putting in every effort possible and retweeting flyers, and nothing is too small to help. That's for sure.
I mean, I got so many like DMs and stuff from people like that were giving me, hey, like I just saw this on the map. You know, I'm gonna check out this area, and I checked out probably 95% of it. I just ran out of time, or not ran out of time, but you know, they found Kiely, and but I really was, and I appreciate everybody's input and suggestions, and like we're talking about, well, here's like a landfill, and here's like areas that I had not thought of, and that's all a huge help. And
I think we'll get it, Nurse Bev. I think they'll give it to us.
Every single person, but I mean, that is, you're fully part of the search, you know. So, you know, thank you, you know, to everybody anybody that just cares, you know, anybody that just cares enough to even monitor the case, you know, like it's just putting good energy out there. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Okay.
Whew. We lasted that 2 hours, and I am so proud of myself that I did not interrupt it very much. Whew, that is a lot of information that we just listened to. And I don't know about you guys, but this by far, with this case for myself, is probably the most informative interview I have seen, besides what law enforcement says. But this was boots on the ground. What he has to say about the sand, the area, the bushes, what the grandpa said about how she knows the roads, she knows that area. There's just so much with this interview that even though this would be my third time, there's a lot to take in. So I'm going to, hold on, let me do this. I've already downloaded it. Amber, I will send you the link for it so you can have it and analyze it too. Hold on, give me a second. My ears are freaking plugged. I will give it to you so you can go through it also. I am going, oh Lord. I look tired now. And yes, Joey, 4 to 6 weeks, I believe they gave us for that. And I do think we'll get the results. I know Nurse Bev says she doesn't think we're going to end up getting it. I think they're going to give it to us. This case has too much attention. They're going to give it to us. I'm just wondering if they're going to give us the preliminary or they're going to wait till it's all finalized. We shall see. I'm going to break it apart and put together what I really think is important when it comes to this case. And then we can do a more in-depth live stream conversation over it, because there's just, with this one, there's a lot of information. There's a lot. So I'm going to let you guys go because we've been on here already 2.5 hours, and you guys know I don't like to keep you guys here any longer than need be. And I just want to thank you guys for being here. Hold on. I thought it was a great library. Oh, Johnny, thank you for being here. Thank you. I did my best to remain mute. I was so hard. I wanted to stop and say something, but if I would have done that, we would have been here for 10 freaking hours, and nobody got time for that. So thank you guys for being here. Yeah, just my brain is fried right now, but a lot of good information with the sand, her car, just so much stuff to just take in. So again, thank you guys for being here with me and discussing this. Thank you to the mods. Give it up to the mods for holding it down. I know Delana and Scott really stepped up today and answered a lot of your guys' questions. The two people probably that I talked the most about this case would be Scott and Delana. And then, of course, Valerie's really invested, but she has some stuff going on right now. So thank you guys for being here with me. If you did not hit like, please hit like on your way out. And if you enjoyed this live stream and you like true crime without that bullshit or drama, then hit subscribe. So until the next one, you guys.